Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. In today's video lesson, we're going to cover how to clean your sensor. Now, DSLRs and mirrorless cameras both get dust on the sensor most of the time when you're changing lenses. So a couple of tips on how to avoid that dust is to make sure that the camera's turned off as you're changing lenses, and don't do it in a really dusty environment. Try to do it indoors where you're changing lenses, or if you're out in the field, try to do it under the cover of your coat or something like that. And don't leave the camera sensor open to the dust if you're in a really dusty environment. If there happens to be some sand blowing at the beach or something like that, it's not a good place to change lenses. But even if you're careful, you're still going to get dust on that sensor. And so you got to physically clean that dust out of there every once in a while. Now, a lot of these cameras have a self-cleaning feature. You can try that, turn it on, put it into that self-cleaning mode, and it vibrates the sensor, and sometimes it gets rid of that dust and other times it doesn't. So if you got dust on that sensor that won't come off with the self-cleaning feature, you got to go in and manually clean that sensor. Don't be afraid of it. Just be careful and follow my technique, and you'll be able to clean that sensor so you can get back to dust-free images. All right, so mirrorless, the sensor is right there behind the lens. On a DSLR with a mirror, you're going to have to put that camera into the manual cleaning mode, and that on a Canon and a Nikon camera is somewhere in the menu. You tell that camera that you're going to manually clean the sensor now. It will lock up the mirror out of the way, and then you can go in and physically clean the sensor using the steps that I'm about to show you. For a mirrorless camera, the sensor's right there. You just take off the lens, and there's your sensor. And you, again, follow the steps that I'm going to show you, and you'll have a nice clean sensor from then on out. Okay, the first item that I use is a simple magnifying glass with a light on it. That's all that this item is. Now, they no longer sell this exact one, so I'll put a link down in the description below of a magnifying glass with a light on it. So this is just used. You can see it's got a light on it, and I'm just going to go into my camera in this sensor, and I'm just going to look with this light and this magnifying glass to just see where the dust is. That's all that this item is used for, is just to see where the dust is. So I take the lens off, and I go in there, and I look, and I try to see where the dust is, and I can see that I have some dust up there in the upper left corner of that camera. So the first item that I use to try to get the dust out is a simple rocket blower. I turn the camera upside down and I blow air up in there to remove that dust. Then I check it with my magnifying glass to see that it's indeed out. And if it isn't, if it's a stubborn piece of dust or a hair or something like that, then I use the third item that I'm going to recommend, which is just a lens pen. Now this has a simple pad at the top of it, shaped like a triangle, and I actually physically go into that camera and I touch the sensor with it wherever the dust is, where I saw the dust, and I'm physically grabbing that dust out of there with this lens pen pad. And I put the lens back on, and I've got a nice clean sensor. Okay, that's a nice easy way to clean the sensor. You don't have to be scared of it. Go in there, be careful, but clean that sensor out every once in a while and get those dust spots out of your sensor so they don't show up on your pictures. As always, I appreciate you watching my videos. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you soon.